Welcome back, champions. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a confrontation where someone raised their voice, got in your face, tried to provoke you, and you felt your heart racing, your hands shaking, your mind scrambling for the right words? That feeling, that's exactly what they wanted. Because the moment you lose your composure, you lose the confrontation. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if you have the facts. The person who stays calm controls the room. Here's what nobody tells you. Confrontations aren't won with words. They're won with presence, with stillness, with the kind of unshakable calm that makes aggressive people feel stupid for even trying. Think about it. When someone screams at a wall, the wall doesn't respond. And that silence, that immovability, it makes the screaming person look unhinged. That's the power you're about to learn. Machiavelli once wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Today, you're going to learn how to be both. How to see through emotional manipulation like a fox, and how to stand unmoved like a lion, no matter how intense the confrontation gets. This isn't about being the loudest. It's not about having the best comeback. It's about developing the kind of psychological armor that makes you untouchable in any conflict. By the end of this video, you'll understand the exact mental frameworks that separate people who crumble under pressure from people who dominate through silence. You'll learn how to rewire your nervous system so confrontation doesn't trigger panic, it triggers precision. But I need you to do something right now. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unshaken, because that's who you're about to become. Rule 1. Understand the real game being played. Here's what most people miss about confrontations. They're not actually about the issue being discussed. They're about control. When someone raises their voice, interrupts you, or gets aggressive, they're not trying to solve a problem. They're trying to dominate you psychologically. They want you flustered, defensive, emotional, because once you're emotional, you've already lost. Every confrontation has two layers. The surface layer is whatever you're arguing about. Money, respect, a decision, a disagreement. But underneath, it's always about power. Who controls the frame? Who sets the emotional tone? Who walks away with their dignity intact? Most people focus on the surface. They prepare arguments, gather facts, rehearse what they'll say. But none of that matters if you can't control the deeper game. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." When you understand that aggression is just a tactic, a performance designed to destabilize you, you stop taking it personally. You see it for what it is, a strategy. And once you see the strategy, you can counter it. Machiavelli observed that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. The deception in confrontation is this. The aggressive person wants you to believe their intensity equals their correctness, that their volume equals their validity. But it doesn't. Aggression is often a sign of weakness, not strength. It's what people do when they don't have the facts, the logic, or the composure to win on merit. The next time someone comes at you aggressively, pause, mentally step back and ask yourself, what game are they really playing here? Are they trying to intimidate you into backing down? Are they trying to make you emotional so you say something stupid? Are they performing for an audience to make themselves look dominant? Once you identify the real game, you stop reacting to the surface noise. You see through the theater. And when you see through it, it stops working. Confrontation is manipulation disguised as conflict. See through it, and you've already won. Drop this in the comments. I see the game clearly. Rule 2. Master your physiological response. Here's something most people don't realize. Confrontations aren't won or lost in your mind first. They're won or lost in your body. When someone confronts you aggressively, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your amygdala hijacks your prefrontal cortex. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing becomes shallow. Adrenaline floods your system. And here's the problem. All of that shows. Your voice shakes. Your hands tremble. Your eyes dart around. Your posture collapses. And the person confronting you? They see all of it. They smell the fear, and it emboldens them. You can have the best argument in the world, but if your body language screams, "I'm scared," you've already lost a psychological battle. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, a neuroendocrinologist at Stanford, explains, under stress, the body prioritizes immediate survival over rational thought. The amygdala takes over, and the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and reasoning, goes offline. That's why people say things they regret in heated moments. That's why smart people suddenly can't think clearly when confronted. Their biology is working against them. But here's the key. You can train your body to respond differently. Navy SEALs use a technique called tactical breathing to stay calm under fire. It's simple. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Repeat. This pattern interrupts the stress response. It tells your nervous system, we're not in danger. We're in control. Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction starts in your body. Master your body, and your mind follows. Before you even open your mouth in a confrontation, control your physiology. First, breathe deeply and slowly. This is non-negotiable. Shallow breathing signals panic. Deep breathing signals control. Second, ground your feet. Feel the floor beneath you. This physically anchors you and prevents that floating, panicky feeling. Third, relax your shoulders. Drop them down. Tension in your shoulders travels to your voice and makes you sound defensive. Fourth, slow down your movements. Fast, jerky movements signal nervousness. Slow, deliberate movements signal dominance. Fifth, make eye contact without staring. Hold their gaze calmly. Don't look away first, but don't glare aggressively either. Just steady, unbothered eye contact. Machiavelli wrote, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. You might be nervous inside, but if your body appears calm, controlled, and unmoved, that's what they'll experience. And that appearance of strength becomes actual strength, because it forces them to recalibrate. When your body stays calm, your mind stays sharp. When your mind stays sharp, you dominate the confrontation. Control your body first. Everything else follows. Drop this in the comments. My body obeys my will. Rule 3. Weaponize silence and strategic pauses. Here's one of the most powerful tactics in any confrontation, and it's something most people never use. Strategic silence. When someone is yelling, accusing, or attacking, your instinct is to defend yourself immediately, to interrupt, to correct them, to explain. But that instinct is exactly what keeps you weak. Because here's what happens when you rush to defend yourself. You look guilty. You look rattled. You look like someone who needs to justify their position. But when you stay silent, when you just look at them calmly and let them talk, something fascinating happens. They start to unravel. Silence is deeply uncomfortable for humans. We're hardwired to fill gaps in conversation. When you don't respond immediately, the other person's mind starts racing. Why aren't they saying anything? Are they not bothered? Did my words not affect them? Am I making a fool of myself? Robert Greene teaches in the 48 Laws of Power, always say less than necessary. You are trying to impress people with words. The more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Silence creates psychological pressure that builds on the aggressor, not on you. While they're expending energy and emotion, you're conserving yours. While they're revealing their strategy, you're studying theirs. Machiavelli understood this principle deeply. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool eventually realizes they should have stayed quiet. The wise man stays quiet from the beginning. When someone confronts you aggressively, try this sequence. Step 1. Let them finish completely. Don't interrupt. Don't interject. Just listen with a calm, neutral expression. Step 2. When they finish, don't respond immediately. Let 3 full seconds of silence hang in the air. Count them in your head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Step 3. Then respond slowly, calmly, and briefly. Don't match their volume. Don't match their emotion. Speak like you're explaining something to a child who doesn't understand. Here's what this does. It creates a contrast. Their chaos versus your calm. Their emotion versus your logic. Their desperation versus your control. And here's the beautiful part. If they're performing for an audience, and confrontational people usually are, the audience sees this contrast too. They see someone unhinged versus someone composed. Guess who looks more credible? When someone asks you an accusatory question, use the pregnant pause. They ask, "Why did you do that?" Or "What's your problem?" Instead of answering immediately, look at them thoughtfully. Let a few seconds pass. Then calmly say, "That's an interesting question." Or, "I'm curious why you're asking that." You've just flipped the script. Instead of defending, you're now interrogating their motivation. Instead of reacting, you're now controlling the frame. Silence isn't weakness. It's dominance. The person who can sit comfortably in silence while others squirm is the person with power. Let them fill the silence. Let them expose themselves. Your stillness is your weapon. Drop this in the comments. Silence is strength. Rule 4. Never defend, only refrain. Here's a counterintuitive truth about confrontations. The more you defend yourself, the weaker you appear. Think about it. When someone accuses you of something, and you immediately launch into a detailed explanation, what message does that send? It sends, "Their opinion of me matters so much that I need to convince them I'm right." That's submission, not dominance. Innocent people don't frantically defend themselves. Guilty people do. Confident people reframe the conversation. They change the angle. They shift the burden back to the accuser. Dr. Robert Cialdini, author of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, explains that humans use mental shortcuts called heuristics. One of those shortcuts is, if someone is defensive, they probably have something to hide. It's not logical. It's not fair. But it's how human psychology works. Meanwhile, when you remain calm and reframe instead of defend, you trigger a different heuristic. This person isn't bothered because they know they're right. Machiavelli advised, "Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception." In this context, the deception isn't lying, it's reframing. It's making your opponent question their own position without you having to defend yours. Instead of defending, use these reframing techniques. Technique 1. The clarification. They say, "You never listen to me." You say, "Help me understand what you mean by that. What specifically made you feel unheard?" You didn't defend. You didn't deny. You just asked them to be specific. Now they have to back up their accusation with evidence. And most emotional accusations crumble under specificity. Technique 2. The mirror. They say, "You're always late." You say, "I notice you seem really frustrated about timing. What's the real issue here?" You've acknowledged their emotion without accepting their framing. You've also suggested that the surface issue might not be the real issue, which forces them to think deeper. Technique 3, the redirect. They say, "Why didn't you do what I asked?" You say, "Let's focus on solving the actual problem. What outcome are we trying to achieve here?" You've moved from blame to solutions, from past to future, from emotion to logic. Technique 4, the boundary. They say, "You're being ridiculous." You say, "I'm happy to continue this conversation when we can both speak respectfully." You've set a boundary without defending yourself. You've made the conversation conditional on civilized behavior, which puts you in the power position. When someone makes an exaggerated accusation, sometimes the most powerful response is to agree with an even more exaggerated version. They say, "You think you're so smart." You say calmly, "I think I'm a genius." Is there something specific you wanted to discuss? The humor and absurdity of your response diffuses their attack. They expect defensiveness. You gave them confident absurdity. It breaks their script. Psychologist Albert Ellis, founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, taught, "You largely constructed your depression. It wasn't given to you. Therefore, you can deconstruct it." The same applies to confrontations. They're largely constructed through mutual agreement to play certain roles. When you refuse to play your assigned role, the defensive, rattled target, the whole dynamic collapses. Never defend your position. Make them defend their accusation. Drop this in the comments. I control the frame. Rule 5. End on your terms, not theirs. Here's something most people get wrong about confrontations. They think you have to resolve everything in the moment, that you have to keep engaging until there's closure. That's a trap. Sometimes the most dominant move is to simply end the confrontation on your terms. Not by storming off emotionally, that's still letting them control you, but by calmly deciding the conversation is over. Whoever ends the interaction holds the power. When you walk away calmly and deliberately, you send a clear message. This conversation is no longer worth my time or energy. That's devastating to someone who's trying to dominate you, because their entire strategy depends on keeping you engaged, keeping you reactive, keeping you in their frame. Psychiatrist Dr. George K. Simon, author of In Sheep's Clothing, explains that manipulative personalities rely on their targets staying engaged. The more you engage with a manipulator, the more power you give them. Disengagement is often the only winning move. Machiavelli wrote, "A return to first principles in a republic is sometimes caused by the simple virtues of one man. His good example has such an influence that the good men strive to imitate him, and the wicked are ashamed to lead a life so contrary to his example." In confrontations, be the one who demonstrates that dignity, calmness, and self-control are more powerful than volume and aggression. Here's how to end a confrontation with power. Step 1. Recognize when it's unproductive. The moment you realize the R. Step 2. Announce your boundary calmly. "I don't think this conversation is productive right now. I'm going to step away." Notice, you're not asking permission. You're stating a fact. You're not explaining yourself. You're simply declaring your decision. Step 3. Don't respond to baiting. They might escalate. "Of course you're running away." Or, "This is typical of you." Don't take the bait. Don't turn around. Don't justify. Just calmly continue your exit. Your silence in that moment speaks volumes. It says, "Your attempts to provoke me are beneath my notice." Step 4. If you must respond, be brief. If circumstances require a response, keep it to one sentence. "We can revisit this when we're both calm." Then leave. There's a concept in martial arts called tactical retreat. It's not about fear or cowardice. It's about not wasting energy on an opponent who isn't fighting with honor or logic. Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, "In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." But he also taught that sometimes the wisest move is to refuse battle altogether. When you walk away from a confrontation on your terms, you're not retreating. You're refusing to play a rigged game. You're demonstrating that your peace, your time, and your mental energy are more valuable than winning an argument with someone who isn't acting in good faith. And here's what happens. Later, when emotions have cooled, you're the one who looks reasonable. You're the one who maintained composure. You're the one who demonstrated self-control. Meanwhile, the person who kept screaming into the void looks unhinged. You don't need the last word. You need the last impression. Drop this in the comments. I walk away with power. So there they are. The 5 frameworks for staying unshaken in any confrontation. Let's be brutally honest. Most people watching this will nod along, feel inspired for 10 minutes, then go right back to their old patterns. The next time someone confronts them, they'll panic, they'll defend, they'll react emotionally, and they'll wonder why nothing ever changes. But you, if you've made it this far, if you've been dropping those affirmations, if you're actually taking notes, you're different. You understand that confrontations aren't about being right. They're about who maintains composure, who controls the frame, who walks away with their power intact. Remember these principles. 1. Understand the real game being played. It's theater, not combat. See through the performance. 2. Master your physiological response. Your body speaks before your words do. Control it first. 3. Weaponize silence. Let them talk themselves into a corner while you conserve your power. 4. Never defend, only reframe. Defense looks like weakness. Reframing looks like strength. 5. End on your terms. You don't need to win the argument. You need to maintain your dignity. Machiavelli's final lesson to you. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Your power doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from complete mastery over yourself. When you can stand in the storm, face to face with aggression, accusation, and chaos, and remain perfectly calm, perfectly still, perfectly unmoved, you become untouchable. Not because you're the strongest, but because you're the most controlled. The person screaming might have volume, but you have presence, and presence always wins. Here's your homework. Next confrontation you face, practice just one of these frameworks. Don't try to do all 5 at once. Pick one, master it. Feel the shift in power dynamics. Watch how people respond differently to your unshakable calm. Then come back and tell me what happened. If this video gave you real value, if you actually learned something that will change how you handle conflict, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to develop this level of composure. And subscribe to this channel, because we're just getting started on the psychology that actually runs human interaction. Most channels give you surface-level motivation that fades by tomorrow. We're giving you frameworks that restructure how you operate in the world. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am unshaken. I am unmoved. I am in control. Welcome to the next level, Kings.